What is good, fellas and lady fellas? Welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today, doing a quick news video talking about these two new extra deck monsters revealed today. They're actually pretty spicy. I actually think they really are interesting cards and could actually prove to be potentially meta impacting cards in the future, but we'll have to see. Now, keep in mind, these are OCG cards at the moment. These are revealed to be promos for the OCG's product, the Valuable Book 22. I don't know how many promos there are, if it's only two or if there's more than that. These are just the first ones. I don't know. But this is an OCG product, so keep in mind we have no idea when we will get these in the TCG. Hopefully they come sooner rather than later, and it's not like a outer entity Nyarla and Azathoth type situation, because that is just the worst. So yeah, let's get right into it. Let's look at these cards. So first we have Cyberspace Beast Jiu. Okay. He's a level 6 Wind Psychic Synchro effect monster with 2400 attack, 1700 defense. His materials are one tuner plus one or more non-tuners, so completely generic. You can only use this card's second effect once per turn. First effect, this card cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects while you have two or more monsters with the same type, same original type and attribute, but different names in your graveyard. Nothing too crazy here, honestly. Like, if you're playing an archetype that makes 6s already, synchro level 6s, that's super easy to do. You're probably making with two monsters in the same archetype that are the same attribute and type. But, obviously that's a little bit specific, but not crazy specific, so decent protection. And the second effect says you can banish two monsters with the same original type and attribute with different names from your graveyard, then target a card on the field and send it to graveyard. So this one is definitely the more lackluster one of the two, I would say. It's a decent removal effect. I mean, it targets, but it just sends, so it's non-destruction removal. But the targeting is kind of is always like you wish it wasn't, but. Just takes a little bit of setup. You're only making this if you can put two monsters with the same type and attribute but different names. Very specific decks this would come up in, and I'm not sure exactly which ones those are, but if it does work, it could work really well. So it's a nice little removal generic synchro monster. Now the one I'm more concerned with, the one that actually interests me a little more, Cyberspace Dragon Long. This is a rank 3 Earth Worm Xyz effect monster, 2400 attack, 2000 defense. This takes two level 3 monsters with the same type and attribute. Burning Abyss. They would have to be Dark Fiends most likely, so you'd have to use two Burning Abyss monsters. But Burning Abyss, it could be. I wouldn't be surprised. Anyway, for his effects, he can only use the second effect once per turn. First effect says your opponent cannot target this card that has material with card effects. Well, there you go. Even if you just have materials on this card, he just can't be targeted. That's still a 2400 beat stick that can't be targeted. That actually could just come up in and of itself, for sure. Second effect, when your opponent activates the effect of a monster whose attribute is not on their field. Whose effect of a monster whose attribute is not on their field. While they control a face-up monster, you can detach two materials from this card and negate the activation. So let me make sure I have this straight. When your opponent activates the effect of a monster whose attribute is not on the field, while they control a face-up monster, you can attach two materials from this card to negate the activation. So this is really interesting. Is this saying like you'd have to negate a monster effect activated in hand or in graveyard that is a different attribute than that monster on the field if they had one? That is interesting. This one's a little different. It's not a straight up negate. I mean, it's a negate, but it's not like negate a monster effect and done with it. It is a little convoluted. It does have its restrictions for sure, but a negate is a negate. And if you just make him without using his materials, without like detaching his materials, he is just an untargetable 2400 beat stick, which can be a problem for a decent amount of decks as well. So I think this card has its advantages as well. I think its negation effect is a little bit floodgated to itself. But for Burning Abyss, something like that, something that just like super easily puts two level 3s of the same type and attribute on the field, it definitely wants to make use of this card. Definitely. Also, they're both cyberspace cards. What if these are like two extract monsters that are going to have a whole archetype built around them? Be interesting, to say the very least. Who knows? But yeah, they're pretty cool cards. I wanted to bring them up because like they are kind of generic. They could have utility in very specific decks. And give them a nice like consistency buff of like a monster to end on or a monster to break boards with. Not Chappie, right? So that's pretty much going to do it here for you guys. Nothing too crazy here, just 2 cool cards that I wanted to show you. Thank you so much for watching. As always, subscribe to the channel if you have not yet, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.